Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video. This week, an AFC rivalry ignites as the Miami Dolphins battle the Buffalo Bills in a heated division showdown. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party, TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's the Dolphins and the Bills, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video. Restrictions may apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager, and today is Monday. If you are inside of Patreon, if you are outside of Patreon, it's Wednesday, ho. And why are you not in Patreon? Exactly. Get your ass over to Patreon so you can hear these episodes on Monday. It goes right, like hand in hand with our Motivation Monday episode. Today, we are talking about job insecurity, y'all. And when I tell you this has been something that has been a hot topic on social media, number one, because people are losing their jobs left and right from the layoffs, the tariffs issue, and people not being able to retain product, which then means you cannot retain employees because you're not making sales, which then leads to the layoffs. And it has just been a trickle effect. And so a lot of people have been experiencing job insecurity. And it says, like, online, if you look up the description of job insecurity, it says it's a perceived threat. When, in my opinion, right now, what people are experiencing is not like a perception. Like, I'm not feeling like this is going to happen. It is happening. It's happening every single day. And it is a production killer when you are constantly worried about your job and whether or not you're going to be able to clock in when you get to work on Monday morning or Tuesday morning or whatever your day looks like. Job insecurity is a threat of losing someone's job. It is a significant stressor that leads to a wide range of negative emotions and behavior in employees. These behaviors can be both negative to the person who is experiencing them, also to your team, and then ultimately your organization. So you feel this on a multi-level status when you have people insecure about whether or not they're going to have a job. Number one, the core of job insecurity is the feeling of helplessness. Number one, you feel like, I don't have any control of this situation. And for people like me, I need to know that there is some structure there. There is some order there. There is like a rhythm. And if I know that there's this impeding feeling that I'm possibly not going to have a job, that provokes a lot of stress, right? It's a powerful stress response that your body feels when you don't feel secure. That's exactly what it is. You don't have the security feeling. You feel like everything that you do is scrutinized, which then makes you make mistakes. There's a lot of times it's the same feelings that you get when you have a micromanager. When you have a micromanager, you are very insecure in your position. And the fact that people are losing their jobs left and right is that same feeling. It's this looming feeling of high stress, anxiety. You feel like you're going to lose your job, which brings you chronic stress, anxiety, emotional exhaustion. And then you start manifesting like real symptoms because you're not sleeping, which is the insomnia. You get headaches, muscle pain, body issues. Like you start experiencing everything mentally first. And then it goes into physical. And then it's like you are maybe calling out of work and you're not necessarily wanting to be present because you're just waiting on the shoe to drop. It reduces morale inside of the job. So for people who are experiencing this, you probably don't have a lot of confidence in your employer, number one. You don't have any job satisfaction. You may feel undervalued. You don't trust management, which is a terrible thing. When you do not have the ability to trust your manager, that is a scary relationship to navigate because you never really know what they're doing or if what they're doing is in your best interest. And that creates that system of distrust that we're talking about. There's almost an unwritten rule, right? Unwritten agreement of mutual trust between you and your employer. And when that loyalty is broken, It makes you, number one, have an emotional response, but you always have to remember, like, this is a fucking business. I cannot take it personal. It's not a personal attack. It's, survival of the fittest. And you have to, find a way to self-preserve. So that's when you bring in the qualities of networking, increasing your abilities, your skills. If you need to go back to school, do that. It is necessary because we're using this as a warning, bitch. Okay, this is a warning. Go back to our Motivation Monday episode where we talked about using this moment as a warning for you to start prioritizing and investing in your network, in your community, in yourself. Okay. Now, some other things that can happen inside of the workplace when you are experiencing job security is we talked about the erosion of trust between you and your employer, but it happens between coworkers as well. Okay. Like, you can experience an erosion of trust between you and your colleague because you don't know what they know, right? Are they trying to keep them, get rid of me? And it creates this unhealthy competition between you and this other person. And management sometimes uses this to their advantage because if they can get the most out of both of you and only keep one of you, what do you think they're going to do? Exactly. And they know exactly who they're going to keep. That's why they start with task tracking, right? This was an episode I did a while back to know the signs of layoffs that, or layoffs are coming, or maybe they're trying to restructure your department. But task tracking, that's a big ass way. Like, that is a red flag, number one, to know that it's coming. And it may not be there in 90 days. It may be 6 months, depending on how far along the process is behind closed doors. But when they start task tracking like that, they want to know exactly what you do day in, day out, baby. They trying to figure out who can we get this work to get rid of this salary, especially if you are on the higher end of the salaries inside of your organization, because they try to cut the big fish first. That's why a lot of positions in I think United Healthcare has some layoffs. Microsoft has some layoffs. There were some other organizations that had layoffs. They laid off middle management first because they want to divide and change those responsibilities amongst the employees that they have remaining. So they cut those higher salaries because it saves the company money ultimately on benefits or just overall cost of having this additional person here when the work can be divided amongst the team. You may even start to feel disengaged from your colleagues. You may avoid any social participation, any team events, any interactions. You may just avoid that totally because it's a way for you to emotionally withdraw, not only from your coworkers, but also from the workplace, right? You want to avoid anything that can lead to a hard pull when it's time for you to say bye, because you know that there's this issue that the company is downsizing or that things are changing inside of the workplace. You may not necessarily have trust in your coworkers, and it just creates this place of increased conflict. That's the competitive thing that I was talking about earlier. And it just makes you feel like there's so much competition between you and your coworkers, and it creates conflict and tension. And it is just not a good experience to go through where you feel like, you know what? I may not know this person because, I always tell y'all not to have personal relationships in the workplace, but there should be a level of trust that is I know you're doing your job. You know what I'm saying? It should just be a very basic level of trust there. And it's hard to do that when you have this conflict there. And even further outside of just the conflict, there may be the competition. And you just don't know who's staying, who's going. And it just creates such a negative work environment. And it's just not a positive one that anyone wants to remain in. And it creates so much distrust. And you start feeling this, lack of loyalty from the company. But you have to always remember that there's no loyalty when money is involved. And right now, the company is doing whatever they can to protect themselves or to put themselves in a better situation financially, and you need to be doing the same thing. It's unhealthy for you to think this job will never let me off because they need me. Don't ever fucking think that. Ever. Because they don't. They don't need you. They'll find somebody else to do this job. They're paying you $100,000 a year. They will find somebody that can do that job for $25 a year. And that they can play around with and fool and have them doing whatever, even if it's for the time being. And then they'll bring another dummy in because it's all about them saving money. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is all that matters. And you have to know that. You need to shift your priorities, that you're finding a new job, spend the weekends updating that resume, and spend your off time, when you do have off time, trying to obtain outside employment so that we are not waiting on the shoe to drop. All right, let's read our first email of the day. I do want to just preface this. This is a situation where someone is dealing with stage 4 prostate cancer of their spouse. So we're going to be talking about this situation. So if you are going through something that is going to trigger you listening, skip this one. Okay. This one says, hello, how are you? I'm great. I've been contemplating quitting my job and staying home to take care of my husband, who has been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. However, my employer has offered me the opportunity to work from home, for which I am very grateful. Despite this, I can't help but to wonder if I should still quit my job. I feel like I need to spend more time with him. Betty, I'm going to tell you, if you are in a space financially that you can still cover your bills, health insurance is okay. I don't know if you all have children outside of you and him, but that your family is going to be okay. Prioritize yourself and your family. You can always do a leave of absence. You can always take FMLA and take an extended amount of time off. If they're offering you the opportunity to work remote and you still feel like I really just need to be with my husband and spend more time with him, then do what you need to do, girl. At the end of the day, your family is the most important thing to you. And right now, you are faced with a situation where you don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be. In Jesus' name, I pray that he is healed. But you don't know what that is going to look like, what that healing is going to be. And as long as you are able to make your ends meet, and you have money saved, I would easily walk away from that job. Pray about it, please, before you make a decision. You know your financial status better than anyone. If you have an accountant, talk to your accountant and see what that looks like financially, and prioritize your family. So I'm praying that you all receive a miracle in this situation. This is very hard to read. Like, I saw it and I'm like, oh my gosh. But, I just really hope the best for you all, for you and your husband, and that during this time you're able to spend with him, the most as possible, whichever way you decide. You just think about those opportunities of whether working from home is better for you, or if you feel like totally staying at home and fully taking care of him, if that's something that, you feel like you need to do to step away from work 100%, do that. Okay? But do it prayerfully. Okay? Okay. All right. And on to our next email. This one says, hello, and thanks for your content. Straight up, no chaser. Thank you, my girl. I am the newest in a company. She's onboarding. Okay, is what that first line says. Should the employer provide cell phone, laptop, network to communicate with them? I truly have a hard time downloading their software onto my equipment and using my network. It's eating up my data, okay? And I don't know what their apps are doing on my personal devices. So, in my opinion, if you want me to work for you and this is remote, then absolutely they should be providing you with those resources. However, it's based in your contract. So if that's not in your contract, I don't know what this position is. I'm not sure what it all entails. Normally when you work for a company, they give you those things. They give you a laptop, they give you a work phone, and network. I'm not sure. There may be some there may be some employers that help you pay for your service. So like they reimburse you for your network. I don't know if that's an option either. I would definitely contact my manager if I were you and just ask, like, is there any way that they can give you a laptop? Also about increasing maybe your internet service and seeing if you can get some better internet. I would ask. There's no harm in that, but I'm not sure exactly what position this is. If it's, in the C-suite, I don't know. I don't know what the position is. So that also is important as well. If you are not in a management role, maybe they have limitations there. So if you want to write back and tell us a little bit more, that'll be great. But if you are picking up what I'm putting down, I would communicate with the manager to see if that's a possibility or if that's something that the company even offers. Okay. All right. This one says, hi, Brandy, but her email, let's start with the email first. Her email says, I don't want to get cursed out. Oh my gosh. It says, hi, Brandy. I hope your day is going well. I was wondering if you could take a look at my resume and let me know if I'm presenting my strengths properly. How much do you charge per hour? Thank you so much for your time. Ma'am, first of all, you ain't even put the damn resume on here. Okay? I could have took a look if you would have put the resume on here, but you ain't even put it on here. So I can't really take a look at it. Also, if you want to schedule a resume appointment, I charge $110, and that is for the initial review as well as up to 3 edits. And we meet, our initial meeting is like where it's 30 minutes and you tell me, okay, this is what I got or this is what I don't have, we go over your current resume. I tell you my ideas of what I want to do, and then I make revisions and then send it back to you, and you get it back in 10 days. You say, yes, I love this, or I want to make a change. And then we go from there. I make those changes and then we review it, and then that's it. It's very simple. And I only charge $110 for it. Now, I don't have as many appointments for resumes available because they don't fill up as often. And then also I try to minimize how many I do. So you may not even see the resume option available because I try not to do more than 2 or 3 out of the month, because it can just be a lot of working with resumes and it's a lot of revisions that have to be done. So I minimize how many I can do per month. So let me know. Okay, ma'am, email me that resume and I'll tell you, like, I actually don't think it's terrible. It's not bad. So send me that and then we'll go from there. All right. And on to our last email. This one says, hey, Brandy. Hey, girl. They put out a rec for a project manager. And I'm going to tell you guys what a rec is before we move any further. That's when they post a position. It's a job requisition. Okay. So job rec, meaning a posting. They put out a job rec for a project manager in my office. They, of course, said we were not qualified. The person that they hired had experience, just not in the field. So there was no project management experience for this person that they hired. Come to find out that the rec was rewritten to what our job is. And the new hire does what we trained her to do, but $20K more than me, and on average $30K more than the team. Not sure where to start on my quest to find out about this BS. What are you going to find out? What are you going to find out? You going to make them pay you, make them give you the job? They did that on purpose. This is somebody that they know. When a company does that, hire somebody that has no experience, they know this person. Like, there is some type of, level of familiarity, and this is someone's personal friend. This is somebody's daughter. This is somebody's cousin, sister, whatever it is, and they just made y'all trade them and paid them more money. Okay? If I were you, I would move on. Okay? Project management, I'm sure you can find another opportunity. If they did not necessarily feel like you were the person for the role, but you can train the person who's going to fill in this role, that's kind of weird. Okay? They just wanted to give this position to somebody else. They didn't want you or your colleagues as management. And now you need to move forward. Also, if I were you, I would stop talking about anything in the workplace that you're going to do moving forward. Do you understand me? Say yes. Okay? Because it seemed like you and your colleagues have been discussing this situation. That's how you know salaries and all this other stuff. So going forward with whatever decision that you decide to make, as far as not maybe staying with this company, I would not be very vocal about my disdain for this situation. I would play fake it till you make it until you get out. You know, that's what you're going to have to do. Okay? Okay. All right, guys. That was our last email of the episode. I really hope that everything works out for everyone. All of the emails that I read today. If you all have anything that you would like to ask, send your emails over to the THEE MILL management, fully spelled out, pod, POD, at gmail.com. Also, make sure you are following me at The Millennial Manager or Brandy, The Millennial Manager, on social media. A huge shout out to the Instagram community. It has just been booming on Instagram. I think we're at 423 or something like that, 422. And Facebook is about to hit 200,000. I want to say thank you so much to the Facebook community. And then for TikTok is at 270. So we're doing really, really well. The podcast is doing amazing. Thank you so much for sharing the content. And I just want to let you guys know that we're going to be talking about on Wednesday for Patreon and Friday for everybody else. We're going to be talking about pregnancy discrimination, and then also getting ready for open enrollment in the month of October. You know, at your job, it's time for you to pick your benefit plans, discussing HSAs, the difference between FSA, HSA, the difference between HMO, PPO plans. We're going to be talking about all of that in the month of October. Okay, so if you want to email those questions ahead of time, because I do feel like I'm going to have to do some bonus episodes, and those will be released inside of Patreon. Make sure you send those over now to the email that I just listed. And y'all have a good ass day. I will see y'all later on social media. Bye.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next-day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.